Number 15. The Ghost Experiment. A YouTuber named Michael D. McGee has been conducting paranormal experiments for years. Apparently, Michael summons a spirit who is willing to move things on his command. To prove this, Michael takes a metal fruit bowl full of apples and shows it to the camera. He says that whenever he concentrates and asks the ghost to move it for him, it does. After showing that there is no one else in the room and no strings on the floor or attached to the bowl, he places the fruit bowl down, making sure to keep himself in the frame the whole time. This supposedly is what he is able to get a ghost to do.
If there's what I'll say.
Again, I just wanted to stress that Michael insists that this is not telepathy, but rather an actual spirit who he is able to communicate with and give commands to. He has since been able to replicate this experiment with other objects. What separates this video from others is that there are clearly no strings attached. If this is fake, it's unclear as to how he is making these objects move. Number 14. Devoured by bugs. Imagine letting a giant green insect sit on your finger and eat your flesh raw. That's exactly what a YouTuber named Glenn Larson did in a video with a simple description that reads, "Redneck wart removal." Apparently, these long-legged grasshoppers, known as katydids, have no problem being handled as long as they have a chance to eat your skin. In this instance, you can see the katydid work its mandibles deep into Glenn's flesh as it steadily chews off a thick meaty wart. It probably would have eaten all the way to the wart's core if Glenn had let it go on long enough. Fortunately, he puts the thing down before it has a chance to draw blood. Number 13. The Winged Attacker. A group of musician friends are jamming out in the woods in Oregon when a tiny creature suddenly attacks one of them in broad daylight.
It's a bat!
Holy
The bat hits Derek on his shoulder with a dull thud and all of the instruments stop. Everyone watches in disbelief as the tiny creature climbs up his body, and Derek can even feel its cold snout as it plants its tiny sharp teeth into his neck, just inches away from the jugular vein.
And then it just bit me.
It latched onto his shoulder, then crawled up his neck.
He throws the bat off and watches it fly into a tree, where it continues silently watching them from afar. They are freaked out at this point, but they think that it was just a freak occurrence and decide to play some more music. After the bat makes 2 more swipes at the man, however, his friend has had enough and shoots it with a BB gun. The group takes the bat corpse back to the local health department and has it tested. Sure enough, Derek had been bitten by a rabid bat. He had to get rabies shots for days afterwards. Number 12. The Spooky Seat. This video was taken somewhere in South America, and it shows a man sitting on a table at a security monitoring station. Little does he know that he too is apparently being monitored, and not by a camera. After a while, this is what happens to him. Even the people reviewing the footage can't believe what they are seeing. Not only does a nearby chair move on its own, but it also moves in his general direction. It's almost as if the ghost is pulling up a seat directly across from him. Unbelievably, the man doesn't seem to notice this paranormal activity unfolding before him. At least at first. He is looking at his cell phone when suddenly it happens again. This time he sees it, and his reaction seems very legitimate as he becomes startled and tense. He looks behind him to make sure that the security camera is recording all of this for later evidence. Then he hops off the table and stares at the chair before him. Obviously scared now. He waits for it to move again, but it doesn't, so he goes over to inspect it more closely. This is probably the most convincing part of the video, because he would have seen a fishing line if it was a fake prank. Instead, he picks the chair up, puts it back in its place, and then puts a stand in front of it and gets out of there fast. I'm not saying that this video is absolutely 100% real, but it is certainly a possibility. Number 11. The Pub Ghost. A woman is cleaning an English pub after hours one night as a ghost makes a mess of everything behind her. She is mopping the floor when suddenly a sign starts to dance back and forth before returning back to normal. She returns and the sign stops moving, but as soon as she's gone again, this happens.
Fuck off.
No way!
When the cleaning lady returns, she notices that the sign has fallen. She appears to be giving her coworker a hard time. You can't see what they are saying, but you can tell she thinks that he knocked it over and is now telling him to cut it out. He insists that he didn't do anything and steps over for a closer look. As he is peeking around the corner, the mop falls over. He is terrified now and quickly runs away, presumably out of the building and into the night.